To create clothing for pretty much any rig, there's a few different ways you can do it. You can model it from scratch. You can create your own geometry and just apply it onto the character. But if you want a starting point, I'm going to make a shirt for this character here. And it's easier to see with everything here. What you can do is use the actual geometry as a starting point. So let's say I have this rig here. The first thing you need to be able to do is to select the geometry itself. Now, I should actually preface this. When you are creating your own mod for a character, your own clothing, you do not want to reference the character into the shot. Right now I have the character referenced in, so this would not be the way I would set this up. You would open the rig and create the modifications in there, then save the rig as a new file, as a rig_mod version. This way you can reference the modded version into your scene, and if something screws up with it, you can always replace it with the original unmodified rig and work from there. It's just a good habit to get into. You never want to modify a referenced rig. In this case, it's not going to really matter. So the first thing I need to do is I need to be able to select his geometry. Now for the Animation Mentors rigs, that's just selecting the root control, the large control at the base of the feet, and making sure body selectable is turned on. For the Apollo rig, what you can do is select the geometry here. And essentially what's keeping us from selecting the geometry is that the body is locked. The way I can show this is go to Attribute Editor, and then under Object Display, Drawing Overrides, there should be an override in here, which is keeping us from selecting things. So let's actually check that group. So if it's not on the geometry, it's usually the group above it, Drawing Overrides. Okay. So where is it on this rig? I'd found it earlier. Weird. Let me actually double check something here. Oh, actually, yeah, this rig right there. It's just a layer. Phew. That's even easier. So if you don't see the override right here, so usually you'll have this and it'll be set to referenced mode, which you just have to turn off the override or set it to normal. Or in this case, it's even easier. Just go into your display layer, turn off the reference right there. And now I can select the geometry. Yay. And Zadan, thank you so much for the raid. Also, hello. Hope you're doing well. So once I have the geometry selected, there's a few different things that you can do. I usually just duplicate it straight off. So I'll just select the body here, hit Control D to duplicate. So we've got our duplicate right here in the outliner. And I'm going to drag it out of the rigs hierarchy right there. So it's just separate. And we can call this, we'll just call this shirt for now. There we go. And we'll move it off to the side. Now you'll notice that it's locked. I can't move it. That's because all of these attributes right here are locked. And Rivian, thanks so much for the sub. I really appreciate it. Thanks so much. Oh wait, Blocking Spline. Jeez, thank you so much for the gift. Oh man, thank you so much. Jeez. Oh man, paying it forward. Oh, that's awesome. Thank you so much. Jeez. That's super generous. Oh man. Now we get to listen to this song. I love it. So all the attributes here are locked right now. They can't be moved. So what I'll do is I'll just right click on this and then I'll hit unlock selected. Now I can move it. I love this song. So we'll take this out here and look at that. We've got just a copy of the body. It's kind of creepy looking. Now, to make a shirt, essentially I want to just keep the parts that would be part of the body. Not the hands, not the legs, not the head, unless I wanted like a face mask or something. So I'm just going to right click on this and select faces, right click and hold. And I'm going to delete the faces that I don't need. So around the waist here, delete. We can see that now that separates the upper body from the lower body. With that separation, if I double click on the lower body, that'll just select that and I can delete it. And we'll just kind of continue with this. So let's say we want to make a t-shirt. So I'm going to select this edge loop here. The way you select an edge loop is clicked on one face. So I selected this one face here. And Agadia, thanks so much for the bits. Really appreciate that. So I'll select one face here, hold down shift and double click on the face next to it. And that'll select all the faces in that edge loop. Let's hit delete. Do the same for the other side here. Now I can select the arm right there, double click, delete. And then for the neck, let's see, where do I want that neckline to be? Let's say around here. Delete that. Make sure it's actually good at the back. Delete that. And here we have the base for our shirt, the starting point. Now, how do we refine this a little bit? Well, for one, let's actually make it so it's not a skin colored shirt. So I'm going to right click on it, assign favorite material, and I'm just going to assign a Lambert for now, just gray. That's fine, like so. And we need to, at this point, just start sculpting it up a little bit, making it a little bit more interesting to look at and take out some of the body details. So there's a few different ways you can do this. Let's actually kind of just go through a few of the things we need to do. One is this arm. I'm not happy with keeping this edge loop right here. That's kind of visually, it's a lot of information on the back of the arm. So I'm actually going to delete this row here as well so that I get a nicer, cleaner line right here. From here, let's actually turn on symmetry in Maya. So the way you can do this, I believe, is, I always forget, Control Shift right click symmetry, and then I can turn it on right here. If you have the status line up here, symmetry is right there. So I can turn that off or turn it on. In this case, I want the object X axis. That'll be left and right. So now if I select the vertices on this side, you can see that they're selected over there. And I'm just going to take all of these. Let's scale them till they're straighter. Like that. Let's do the same thing down here so we get just a cleaner line. Scale them down. Okay. Now, that kind of gives us a good start, but we need to soften this up a little bit. Now, there's a few different things we could do. One, we could delete a lot of the detail. So for example, we don't need this really defined chest plane right here, right through there. So I could delete some edge loops. So I could take that, shift right click, delete edge. You don't want to just hit delete when you're deleting edge. Otherwise, it's going to get weird results. So maybe that one. I'm going to hit G to repeat the last command. G as in gorilla. That repeats the last command that you did. So I can just start going through here and deleting some of the detail that we don't need. I don't want to go too far with this, but there are certain areas where it might be a little overkill, like right in here, for example. So we could do that. The other thing I can do, and this is something I really love about Maya, they're not the strongest tools, but they're great for what we need here, is I can go to the let's see, mesh tools, sculpting tools, and these tools can really help you just simplify things. So in this case, I will want to use either the smooth or relax tool. I personally like the relax tool, and this is a little bit big, so I'm going to hold down B as in brush, and then middle mouse drag to change the brush size right here. And I can just drag this, and you can see how it's smoothing things out. It's relaxing the vertices. Essentially what relaxing does is it evens them out over a surface. So for example, here you can see how dense it is. As I relax it, it spreads them out together so that we get a more even kind of coating, I guess you could say. So I'll just go through the model, especially on the arms here. You can see how that kind of cleans up that area there. And I'm taking away as much detail as I can. I can also use the smooth tool to smooth things out. So for example, I don't need the belly button here on the shirt. So smooth that out. I could even clean up those faces there. Let's relax the back here. Relaxing is good when you want to keep some of the detail, but you want to kind of smooth it out. Smoothing is good when you want to just kind of get rid of detail. So if I wanted to get rid of the line on the back here, you can see how that really just gets rid of it. So like the lats here, we're not going to really see that through a shirt. So you'd go through and basically shape this how you want. I'm not going to spend too much time on this. Now, from here, let's say, okay, this is a decent start to the shirt. We could clean it up more, but let's say I want to now shape it to his body. I'm going to put it back to his body here. So zero that back out, and you can see it's a little small. Even if I hadn't relaxed it and everything, it's going to be exactly the size of his body. Like it's going to be skin tight. We want it to be a little bit bigger. Now there's a few ways you can scale this up. You can go to, I believe, where is it again? Edit Mesh Transform. And when you do this, this is a scale tool that goes out. You can think of it like it's an inflation. Normally, if I scaled this, so just hit R and scale this, you'll see that one, its pivot point is down here. So that doesn't work. Okay, I can reset my pivot point, go to Modify Center Pivot. That puts the pivot point right in the center of the geometry and scale that. But see how it's just making it bigger and not like, it's not making the sleeves wider, it's just making the whole shirt distorted compared to his body. If I go to Edit Mesh Transform and then just pull this out, you can see how it's bringing it out globally. It's pulling it out based on the normals, which are the direction of the faces and the vertices versus just a global thing. So I can just do this, kind of get I'm looking at the sleeves here, kind of as my main goal. Okay, about there. That's good. Now I can just take the shirt and let's move certain vertices. So I want to take these vertices and move them out, pull them out. But there's a couple problems. One, if I just pull a vertice, we get this. That's not super great. Two, it's kind of a pain to select vertices sometimes, especially when they're like in the body. So a quick trick to selecting things is holding down the tab key. This is actually a shortcut not many people realize. Normally when you select things, you have to select one at a time, or I could hold down shift and double click to select a row, things like that, click and drag. But if you hold down the tab key, you can see how the cursor changes. This is the draw tool. Essentially, I can just hold down tab and draw out, just click and draw, and that is my selection now. So I can just hold down tab, I'll draw out a selection right here. There we go. Done. It's very nice, especially for selecting vertices. Now, with this selected, and it doesn't select behind the character as well. No, it only selects on the surface. So if I select here, it doesn't select on the other side, which is very nice. Now, with that, I'm going to hit the B key. The B key, if you hold it and drag it, sometimes it'll be the brush size. In this case, if I just tap B, this will turn on soft selection in Maya, which basically makes it so that instead of selecting just these vertices, it's going to have a fall off. So I can just drag this out a little bit and then pull it out. And I can just ever so slightly pull that section of the shirt out here. Let's do the same for the chest there. So go back to vertices and make sure I don't select the vertices of the body. Just the shirt. That's all I want. Okay, right click, vertex, hold down tab. Let's select that line right there. Maybe make our soft selection a little bit bigger. Pull that out just a little bit. Now, I pulled it out a little too far. Is that a problem? Not really. Because I can always go back in here, go back into my sculpting tools. So I usually, when I use sculpting tools, I'll just tear off the copy of the menu here. That way I can just easily get to them. They're also on the shelf, but I like to use them here because it shows you the name. And then I'll just use the relax tool just to kind of clean that up here. There we go. Okay. Now you could spend time with this. Like you can see how that neck collar doesn't really work right there. Let's say I want to fix that neck collar. What we want is a nice edge loop around that entire area. Right now, this is not working. You can see right here, this face, we get this kind of weird corner right there. That's not great. We want something like this where there's this continual loop all the way around. Okay. How do I do that? Well, if you select all of the edges here, all the way around, one way is just to take these and then I'm just going to extrude them and just pull them out a little bit. Now let's take that edge loop here, scale it in just a bit. And now that is a round edge loop. So I can take the vertex here. Let's actually make sure I don't select the body. So vertex and move that through right there. Like that. Now, once you do that, it would be a good idea to smooth this out once again and relax everything so you don't get that kind of weird smush, especially right here. But now you can see that nice clean edge loop right there. And I could refine that a little bit more, but don't want to spend too much time on this. There we go. If we want to make maybe a little bit more depth to the object, how do I want to do this? I could take the edges around the sleeves. Let's extrude those in a little bit and then extrude them again and bring them through, down like that. Now we've got a little bit of depth on the shirt. So we could do all sorts of things. At this point, it's whatever we want to do. I'm not a fan of the fact that we can still see the belly button there. Part of that, the reason why we can still see the belly button is the normal angles. So normal angles are what determines whether an object looks sharp or soft. If you go into mesh display, you can find it here. Harden or soften edge. If I take this and let's just select a line right here. Boop. And then go to mesh display, harden edge. We look at the shirt now. And let's make sure I actually hit that there. So mesh display, harden edge. Interesting. For some reason it doesn't want to do it. Oh wait, I might have to go to mesh display, unlock normals. There we go. So there you go. So this is what a hardened edge looks like. If you don't see that, like no change, unlock the normals. So you can see how everything looks really hard and crisp now. Now I don't want to soften everything globally because maybe I want harder edges near the seams there. So I'm just going to go to mesh display, soften, harden, and that'll basically calculate, by default, I believe it's a 30-degree angle between the faces. As long as they're within there, it'll be a soft edge. So you can see that actually didn't work out too great. We've got a sharp edge there and there. So let's just soften this completely. Boop, soften. There we go. Now we don't see that belly button and everything looks nice and soft. Would that be a belly wedgie? Oh, that a belly wedgie just sounds terrible. Now, for anyone who's curious, if you did want to get rid of this properly, the best thing to do would be to just delete these faces. Delete. And then I can just select this edge. Keep selecting the body underneath. Select this edge to this edge. Shift right click, and I'm going to bridge them together. This connects them. From there, let's just relax the stomach area. Done. So that's the way I would properly do it. This way you don't have any remnants of that. Nice and clean. So from there, like you could, would fill hole be better? Fill hole could work, but you'd have to split it afterwards. So for example, if let's go back here. If I just went here and then shift right click and then fill hole is where? Right here. You'll see it puts a face in there, but it's one face instead of split down the middle. I want to keep this split all the way through. So I could do this, and then I'll go to shift right click, multi-cut, and then let's line this up so I can get to this face here. For some reason it wants to cut through to other parts. I'd cut in between there. So honestly, either is right. There's nothing wrong with one or the other. I just like the bridge because it's one step in this case. So, there we go. Now, let's say our shirt is done, because we could spend a year just modeling it and getting all of the stuff exactly how we want. At this point, we want to connect the shirt to the body, because if we were to actually animate this character, and I always forget, you can see his FK controls there. If we want to animate this character, well, that's not working. So to attach the shirt to the body, what you want to do is, and I always forget the order to this, I believe it's select the shirt, then the body, geometry here, and then go to deform, and you want to create a a wrap deformer right here. A wrap deformer will wrap one piece of geometry onto another and allow them to move together. Now, one thing I like to do is I like to turn on exclusive bind in there. The reason for this is it makes it run a little faster. It basically combines it just to this one piece of geometry and not to potentially multiple pieces of geometry. Let's hit create here and let's see if I got it the right way. I did. There we go. Now the character has a shirt and it's all good. So essentially the way I like to make custom clothing is I'll just take the original body, duplicate it, delete what I don't need, use that as a base to start building what I need. That just is way faster than having to build something from scratch. And then you wrap deform it and you're done. Now we have a shirt. So yeah, that's about it. At this point, I'm trying to think if there's, oh yeah, there is one other thing. And there you go, Agatio, you already called it out. When you wrap deform something, Maya will typically turn off the visibility on the body in this case. Now, we still see the body. Why is it invisible? Well, technically it's not until you try to render. When you try to render, the skin is not going to show up. You're just going to have eyes floating in space and a shirt. It's going to be very creepy. I'm not sure why Maya does this, honestly. But to solve this, just select the skin that you wrapped to, and then go to your render stats right here, and make sure that primary visibility is turned on. Sometimes that'll be turned off. So just double check that. Sometimes it's fine, other times no. So you want to make sure this is on. Yeah, the Adventures Maya. It's a joy exploring and learning. So hopefully that helps. When you want to make clothing, this is essentially my workflow. The only time I won't use this is if I'm trying to create more complex clothing. So for example, who do I have it here? Where is it? I'm trying to find a folder and there you go. So I made a couple of outfits for some characters for some promotions. So let me find them here. So actually I can show this here. So this was an outfit that I did for Aya, which is basically kind of a superhero suit. I used essentially the workflow that I just showed. Duplicate the body and then reshape it. You can see it's very simple, not much to it. And I just added a collar, kind of shaped that, wrapped it, it's all good. From there, I can add a texture to make it more detailed. In more complex cases, I'll model things out. So for example, which one's the newest one? This one. This was a piece of armor that I did for one of the rigs, just super quick. And this one, you can't really do that because all the different pieces are, well, different shapes and very specific shapes. So this I modeled from scratch and then attached them to the rig. As well as like the armor down here. Now, on top of that, if you want to go even more detailed, so where is it here? This was a couple of costumes I did for Moya and Jules. So I sculpted these pieces of clothing. I made them from scratch, sculpted them so I can put in all the details that I wanted. So because they're much more complex and they're not form-fitting, I put more time into them to go and sculpt them. Oh, Amish, thanks. It's been fun working on these. It gives me an excuse to get back into sculpting, at least with this one. So, yeah, those costumes, it really just depends on the level of detail you want. If you want really detailed or kind of off from what the body shape is, you will have to start going into a little bit of just base modeling. But if it's just like a t-shirt, some pants, something quick and easy that you want, copy the geometry, use it as a base, you're good. You don't need more than that. Oh, the clothing? Yeah, these pieces of clothing, because they're so drapey, I wouldn't animate them this way. What I would do is simulate this clothing. So I would create a base mesh of the clothing that's not wrinkled, that's just hanging on the body, and then I would simulate it. In this case, I sculpted it. So this is only for a pose. But I could do the same process to simulate that clothing. And yeah, the only difference would be all of these wrinkles would not be made by hand, but by the simulation after. So that could work as well, especially for something like a dress. That's how you would approach that. Can you do this in Maya, the simulation? Yes. So it's actually something I've been wanting to do on stream for a while. I actually did a demo on it a long time ago. If you go through the video history on the channel, there's a couple of cloth demos. How to have a character interact with a cloth. I have a character like picking up a cloth like a magician to make a reveal. And then I also talk about how to use that same process on adding a dress to a character.